people up in the chandeliers. The wine and dining, the menu is blood, sweat, and tears. Everybody ready, raining down confetti. Champions are born right now. Hear about the glamour, click goes the hammer. Run when you hear that sound. Heroes never die, gonna make it to the finish line. We know we survive, even if we crawl to the finish line. I won't believe it, underdog dreaming. Don't need your cheers, world's gonna say it. Heroes never die, gonna make it to the finish line.
What is up, Rio Hondo football fans? Welcome to our second show of the week. It is Thanksgiving Eve, and it is the day before the day before, if you know what I am trying to say there. 2 days, 2 nights to be specific, until the Division IX championship game down in Santa Monica. It is roughly 6:45 or so here as I'm recording this. So we're just about 48 hours away from kickoff, and the anticipation is building. And just cannot wait to get this thing going, get off work hopefully early on Friday and get down there, if you know what I mean. We've been talking about logistics, about the field and such. I believe the seating is only on one side. They're bringing in extra bleachers, or so they say. So parking looks like it could be tight. So get there early. I'm going to probably be hustling to get there. I like getting there at least 90 minutes before. Any time after that, I feel like I'm late or hustling. So I'm praying everything works out and I can get there in a timely manner on Friday night, safely, of course, safely. But it is Thanksgiving Eve. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I was kind of brainstorming this week of what I wanted to do. Last week, I did 2 episodes, right, with Ken Drain and Fred Robledo. This week, I did an episode, which I thought about over the weekend. I was like, man, how am I going to top that from last week? And I said, you know what? I got to talk to head coach Mike Dowd. And so we got him on late last night. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to listen to that. And I thought that was rather fitting. The coach from 50 years ago who led Rio to its first championship in 1973, 50 years exactly, I might say. So I don't know. There's something poetic here. There's something, the planets are aligning, God's providence, whatever you want to call it. Although we like to put, probably say that it's, it's God working a little bit here. But anyway, I decided to have 3 shows this week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Very late show episode last night and tonight. And then we're going to try to get it out a little earlier on Thanksgiving, because I'm going to record Thanksgiving morning. So that is kind of the tentative plan. But on the show today, I thought, sometimes things work out, right? And someone reached out to me and I was like, nope, we're getting you on the podcast right now. And I thought, what better way to, prepare for Thanksgiving, the huge meal tomorrow, than to bring on an athletic trainer. I'm going to be bringing on today Steven Gholar, who is somebody that trains our young men, a lot of them, also trains some of the ladies, I believe, at Rio Hondo Prep. Just strength training. We'll get into all of it, right? Nathan Shine talked about him on the podcast this last weekend about getting back into shape and kind of coming back from that injury. Training with Coach Gholar. I know Ryan McCullough has talked about Coach Gholar and Jonathan Guerrero. There's a lot of players on this team actually who have had some sessions with him. And the fun part of just how small the world is sometimes. Mr. Gholar was a member of Boys Christian League back in 1972 and 74. So he was in BCL at that time. Rio Hondo was winning this championship in 1973. So I don't know. I doubt he remembers that, but we'll talk about it maybe. And just the fact that's kind of an interesting connection. So I thought, hey, let's talk about a trainer, get some exercise right before the big overindulgence tomorrow, because there will be plenty of that. I can promise you, from all of us expressing being very thankful and everything. So he has trained countless athletes. He's trained clients from 6 years old to Olympic gold medal athletes. He's trained athletes in football, basketball, baseball, MMA, UFC, track and field, gymnastics, just a ton of different people. And he's trained a lot of our students. Let me see here. He's trained Ryan, JG, Gio, Elijah, Nathan, Damian, Coach Johnson's boys come to mind. Currently training Jacob, Calogero, Elias, Rain, Shine, Kenny, Nate and Josh, Devin, Corrine, Yannick, Rocco, Ben. So there's some names there that I'm sure you guys recognize who are on our football team. And if Rio's able to pull off this, I'm going to say upset, even though they're the number 1 seed in this division, people seem to be picking against them this week. And so rather than get mad, me personally, I'm going to be like, I like it. I like it. I like when Rio is picked against. They've been the underdog since the 70s. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Let's keep slaying Goliath. At all levels, if you will. So Rio Hondo, people could say, oh, you guys, we respect you guys, but ultimately you got to earn that respect. And Rio Hondo will have to compete and come out victorious on Friday night. And I'm going to ask Coach Gholar here how confident he is in this team and kind of what goes on behind the scenes outside of practice, right? Practice is hard enough in a football team, but we got a lot of athletes on this team who are you could say they're undersized. Yeah, Rio Hondo's always undersized, but these guys put work in, and there's a reason why they're so strong out there on the field. Plus the Rio Hondo commitment to the RHP way and just being strong and everything. So let's get to it. My conversation with Coach Gholar. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please go check out last night's episode with Mr. Mike Dowd. It was about an hour conversation with him. Episode was probably an hour 20 or so. And I'm not sure how long this will go, but I thought, Coach Gholar, let's get him on the podcast and get going. If you heard that intro music, that was from Skillet called Finish Line. And I thought that was, some good lyrics there. Heroes never die. And it's all about getting to that finish line, which Rio Hondo is trying to get to here on Friday night. And I'm excited about it. It's not going to come easy. It's going to be another tough test. And, I'm confident that the boys will do it, but there's doubters out there, and maybe there should be, maybe there shouldn't, whatever. But let's get to it now. Our conversation with Coach Gholar, talking about his strength training and making all of our athletes at Rio Hondo Prep stronger, and specifically for this football team here in 2023. Let's now bring him on, Coach Gholar. All right, we are now joined by Mr. Steven Gholar, who is a trainer of athletes at all levels, but has worked countlessly with a lot of our Rio Hondo Prep football players. He's located in Monrovia, and he's actually a former boys Christian League member. There's a lot to get to. Let's just say hello first. Coach Gholar, hello to you, sir, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hello to you too.
Hey, it's a pleasure, sir. I've got to hear about you from a few of our student athletes, and you hear the name over and over again from some of them, and you're like, oh man, a lot of guys must be using Coach. And Nathaniel Shine recently spoke on our podcast over the weekend, and that's where you heard about our podcast, and he told us about you. So, what do you think? What'd you think of the podcast off the bat?
It was great. It was great. It was a great interview. Very professional. Loved it.
Well, Nathaniel is a unique guy that, has come back from an injury, and we are extremely blessed that he has battled his way. I think it's been 7 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was training with you before it happened, but when it happened, did you kind of have a vision for him that, hey, he can get back to the field if he put his mind to it?
Oh, for sure. And I was on him immediately. I was on any of my guys who I train, and if they have an injury, unless it's absolutely impossible for them to do anything, I'm on them immediately to try to do something. If it's keeping their legs strong, there's something, because I tell them you can't take, you just can't take anything for granted. And then if you want to get back as fast as possible, you got to build those muscles and keep things going.
Yeah, well, he looks to be back 100%. I broke my collarbone back in high school. It was a very difficult thing, and he seems as good as new. But you work with a lot of not just current football players at RHP, but a lot of other athletes. As we prepare for the championship this Friday, who are some of the guys on this current team that you have worked with over the year?
I work with right now that's on the team. I work with Nate and Josh, twins. Shine, of course, Colangelo, Rain, Jacob, Devin, Elias, Yannick. Who else? I don't want to leave anybody else. Kenny. I think. And Shine's sister. She's not on the team, but she goes. So his sister, Shine's little sister, is who's in gymnastics. I think that's it right now. I think that's it. I was training Elijah. Yeah, Elijah. I was training Elijah too at one point before he had some injuries.
Well, you know, our team, they condition quite a bit, and the Rio Hondo program is, you know, speaks for itself. They try to, you know, want their guys to be in good shape, and that's kind of how we beat teams, kind of out conditioning them. But we have so many guys, as you just mentioned, that are now doing outside work. And if you could, Coach, talk to me about, I guess, the balance really when guys are practicing football and conditioning with their teams. How much more do they need then with you, or is it just kind of you're pushing them more, or just kind of polishing things up?
It's kind of like a combination of all of it. One thing that, and not just the real guys, any guys who I'm training with at other schools or whatever, what I do is I balance out what they are doing. So to make sure that there's no overtraining happening, because that's where injuries start to happen. One of the things about the machine I train on, the Vertimax, it's resistant bands. And so it's a lower impact, even though it's very rigorous training. So there's some around 80% of all the NFL teams and NBA teams train on it. College Division I is around 75% of all colleges train on this machine. So it's a machine that kind of gives you to a next level. The beauty of the machine is that it's the only thing that's actually been created that as the season goes on, you get more explosive, faster, and stronger. So the teams who train on it end up winning. Like, so when the machine first came out, because the guy Mike who invented it was in Florida, he was training Florida Gators. So when Florida Gators won national championships in basketball and football, they were the only ones in the country training on this machine. Ever since that happened, 10 years straight, every major sport who won a championship was training on the Vertimax. Wow. So what it is it literally separates you from everyone else, and you literally get more explosive, stronger, faster, higher vertical as the season goes on. And as you know, you're a former athlete. If you are playing against a team that as the season goes on, they're getting stronger and faster, more explosive, they're going to be hard to beat at the end.
Oh, definitely. I like that. It's kind of like it sounds, you know, something almost like from an endurance standpoint, like you're already getting your lifts in at school, your stretches in, but it's just kind of like, all right, let's now expand upon that. And, you know, with the Rio athlete, Coach, these are guys that they all play 3 sports, and football, I think is the priority. So are you able to kind of do this stuff, spread it out with them year round?
Yes. So what I do is I have different athletes, meaning that they want different things. I have athletes who, whatever sport is happening, they say, "Hey, coach, can I train for this, basketball, baseball, or whatever?" So we'll mix it in there. But what I try to tell them is this: as far as being athletic, your athleticism is the one thing you want to hone in more than anything. Because this is what happens. That is what goes first as an athlete. Your athleticism is what goes first, not your skill. I always tell people, Steph Curry, he's going to be 80 years old and still hit a shot, but his athleticism won't be there. Just like Kobe, he wasn't able to dunk when he first. So that's all the athleticism part. That's the thing that I concentrate on with these athletes. I make them better athletes. So no matter what we're doing, no matter what sport, I'm going to make them a better athlete, so they're going to excel no matter what sport. So, and then I have some like Ryan McCullough who said, "I don't care about any other sport. I just want to focus on football." But even though he said that, the things that we worked on still made him a better baseball player, basketball player, or whatever. So that's you know. So that's why I always try to tell people: no matter what we're going to do, you're going to become a better athlete, no matter what.
How did you get started with Rio Hondo athletes, or who was among the first? Was it Jonathan Guerrero? Or were there other people?
Yeah, well, see, my son played with him on the same team. So they played with Georgia Bulldogs. So I knew the whole family. So from there, they knew I was still training. And one thing is that back then, my son was training on the Vertimax and everything. So I literally had. The funny thing is the teams that we played, the other teams, we started actually getting complaints about my son hitting too hard and doing things. So, and then people will say, "Well, you train him." I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. he is my son, so I'm going to train him. So actually people saw what he was capable of doing and knowing that I was training him. And then eventually some people started reaching out, and Jonathan, JG was the first. And, and again, I've known him since he was, him and my son, since they were little guys. So,
So let's take those two individuals, Jonathan Guerrero, 5'6", 5'5", a little guy, but is a heck of a football player. You got Ryan McCullough, who's built and tall. He's a D1 athlete. Jonathan's in JC trying to play beyond that. What's kind of the different approach in those two guys, since we happen to know two of those guys being our best football players over the years?
Right. And I also coach Gio. So I also trained Gio. So Gio is a phenomenal athlete too. Phenomenal. One thing is that I actually, the funny thing about quickly on that is that I'm a part of a lot of different camps and combines that I get invited to actually work it. So I worked at the Rivals Combine. So I was able to get Jonathan and Gio in it because that's an invite only. So I got them in there because I trained them. So all we did was I trained them on everything that's going to happen at the combine, all the drills, everything. We did it for 2 straight weeks. They went there and tore it up. Like literally the 2 Rio kids there blew everybody away, Gio and Jonathan. So that's the quick story on that. But as far as the difference between them, you're right. Ryan having the size and everything like that. When Ryan came to me at first, he was a chubby kid. So he was chubby and out of shape. And the funny thing about that, I didn't invite him to the Rivals Combine. And I told him that. I told him I wasn't going to invite you. And the only reason why I did it because he wasn't training with me consistently. So I told him, you're not ready. Your mind isn't where it should be. And you're going to go there and you're not going to perform well. You don't come to me consistently enough. You're not ready. Whereas Gio and JG were. So it was the lesson I was teaching him. Like, you got to take this more serious. And so when I didn't get him invited to it, from that point on, he started training me nonstop. And so I literally, it's funny, on my Instagram, I actually have pictures of before and after what he looked like when he first came to me. And with him, I did everything with him. I did his meal, I did the lifting, the workout. So I was pretty much his only trainer. So I completely transformed him. With Jonathan, one thing with him, I told him, you're short and you're thin. We got to put muscle on you. So I would tell him, look at any running backs that are short like you. What do they look like? And so he looked, he was like, man, these guys got big legs. They're strong. I said, yeah, they're big dudes. I said, the one other thing that you have going for you is that even though you're not a solid kid like that, you're tough. So I said, so once we put some meat on those bones, with your already toughness that you have, it's going to work great. And then again, with him, I packed on a lot of muscle on him. He got a lot bigger from when he first started with me to his senior year. So, and I was very impressed with him. Same thing with him. I have pictures of him when he first started versus what he turned into. So, so I have that. I take care of that. I have kids that come to me with meal plans, like Jacob. He came to me and dropped 30 pounds doing my meal plan. I have a nutrition that I work with, a nutritionist that put my guys on meal plans that want to or try to gain weight. So I have that, and I do recovery stuff for them too. So.
Wow. So you're dealing with all kinds of different levels of athletes. You got linemen, you got receivers. And I thought that's really cool to hear about Gio and Jonathan, because, we at Rio Hondo know, these are guys, incredible athletes. But then there's always that question about, especially Rio over the years, what can these guys do amongst other teams and other great athletes in the area? But it sounds like, hey, just because you go to Rio Hondo doesn't mean you can't be one of the most elite athletes out there.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. The one thing is, and this is a story that really upset me, that same Rivals Combine I got them invited to, and this is when I stopped. I almost went back when Ryan went, but I decided not to. But I decided not to help and go anymore, because all I was telling them is that we're going to get you good numbers there. I'm going to get you good numbers there. So the beauty of that, numbers don't lie. So you're going to be going against 1,500 dudes from all kinds of modern day St. John Bosco, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, numbers don't lie. So, and there's everything is laser timed. So there's no way of changing numbers or nothing. No matter who's working the drills, you can't change it. It is what it is. You have a big iPhone thing that records it. You can't change it or anything. So Geo and JG had the 2 fastest times in the entire out of 1,500 kids, right? So I told them, great, this is great. You know, I prepared them for that though. So I knew they were going to do great. I didn't know they were going to be 1 and 2, but I knew they were going to be good. What upset me about it is 2 days later, they come out with all the numbers, right? So Jonathan's dad called me and said, hey, I have a problem. And I was like, what? He was like, Jonathan's numbers aren't on here. He said, I have a card showing what his numbers were, his times, and then they posted the fastest times in the top guys, and he's not on it. I said, you're kidding me. So I looked up the website, and what they did is they posted guys from bigger schools.
Wow.
Instead of him being from Rio, and I was like, wow. And all I was doing is telling not just them, I was telling other kids, this is what was great about it, that numbers don't lie, and it doesn't matter how big or small your school is. Numbers don't lie. You perform well here, and it's going to look good for colleges. And then that was like a slap in the face. And I was like, wow, I can't believe they did that. So I actually called them and complained. I told Jonathan's dad to do the same thing, to just, complain about it. It wasn't a good thing. But
that's amazing.
But they know.
That's amazing. And you know what? I guess I speak for everyone at Rio Hondo when it's kind of like, yeah, that's just how it is. It's constant constant disrespect. And you could say, oh, we support you, love you. And then it's just like, no, we're going with these other kids. I mean, but honestly, and you've seen all the kids at Rio I mean, honestly, Rio guys got to have that chip on their shoulder to be successful. It's just something we have to do because like you said, numbers don't lie. Well, apparently they did.
Yeah. Right.
Man, that's crazy. And you worked, with the Curtis brothers who, very fast guys. I see a ton of other athletes that you use there. Where is your location that you do all this training?
Well, I had a facility and I do a lot of training at my house. The facility that I was at, I didn't end up working out just because of my schedule. I have a special needs daughter that I have to be home with sometimes, so it's easier. She's an adult, but she's special needs. So there's times where the schedule wasn't working out, so I kind of had to start training here at my house, where I transferred my yard into a training thing, which they've all trained at. So, but I'm looking for another spot anyway.
That's really neat. It's kind of a homegrown type of feel to it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, Coach Gholar, you mentioned not just you, but also your kids were in Kare Youth League. You were in Boys Christian League. I mean, 1972, I think you said it. That was right around the time Rio was winning his first championship 50 years ago. Kind of fun little thing there. Talk to me. What do you remember about Boys Christian League back in the day?
I just remember back then, it was literally everyone you can imagine played there.
Wow.
Like everyone. Like it was like, I don't know anyone who didn't. And I've always told people this, if Kare ever did the research to look up everyone and see what they've done as far as athletes, they probably produce more athletes than any place, anywhere. Like I know so many people that went through Kare that went on to play Division I football or baseball or basketball, or have gone to the pros that started there though. You know what I mean? So they didn't go through Pearl and all of that, but they started at Kare, so it went on to do amazing things in sports.
Yeah, that's really something. What did you did you play ball after Kare Youth League in high school and college or anything?
Yeah, I played at Monrovia High School. I ended up having injuries and ended up not going any further than that. And I ended up getting into bodybuilding and start competing actually in bodybuilding, and had more injuries. I literally had a really bad injury where my knee and my back snapped at the same time. So that wasn't good. So I ended up having to recover from there. And long story short, I ended up, when it's said and done, I ended up having 3 knee surgeries, a back surgery. So I had ended up not being able to do anything anymore. But the beauty of it, what I was pretty obsessed with training and everything like that, I'm still able to do it. And most of the time I can show them some stuff, but I still have I have like no cartilage in one knee,
Oof.
bolts and metal plates in my back. So I can only do so much to show them,
Yeah.
but you know.
So you know a thing or two about injuries, and
Yeah.
recovered from them a little bit too. So
Yeah.
how did you then get your start as far as getting into athletic training, or what, is that the proper term, by the way, athletic training?
Yeah. I'm an athletic performance trainer. So what I actually started doing is I started actually training myself and had no clue on what I was doing at all. And I never forget this one guy, and I don't know who he is. He doesn't know who I was. And I always bring this guy up. And it's amazing how sometimes people go into your life, they have no idea how they affected you, and they will never know how they affected you. But this one guy, I'm in the gym training. He came to me, and I guess he's seen me a few times, and he says, "Man, you train a lot, but you're doing everything wrong. Like what you're doing is completely wrong." And me, I didn't have an ego. So I was like, really? And so he explained some things to me. He's like, you want to do it like this, you want to do this and that. So he just corrected me on some things and like order of things and things like that. And I was like, wow. And it amazed me. So I then started getting into that. I then started reading book after book after book after proper training and proper everything. And this was before any kind of certificates or anything. I just dove into going to the library and just reading book after book after book on training, proper way to lift, proper way to recover, what's the fastest way to do this and that. So I really got into that. And then people just kind of like saw me and said, hey, do you train people? I was like, no. And they were like, you probably should try to train people. So I started training people originally for free. And I did it because I didn't think I could train people, pay. I didn't think I could charge people because I just wasn't. I knew what I was doing by then, but I didn't feel comfortable when I wasn't certified. I wasn't a first certified trainer or anything like that. So, and for me, it was like being like almost an internship. So I just started training people for free, and I kind of got my feet wet with actually training people. So I started doing that and started building and building. And then all the people I started training, well, I was training regular people at first. Then athletes came to, like my nephew and them. So I started doing with them, and then all the individual athletes I was training, started becoming the best guys on their team. So what started happening is I started getting phone calls from coaches because they were asked, "What are you doing different?" He's like, "Oh, I'm training with this guy over here." So I started getting calls from coaches like, "Hey, you wanna come and train this whole team," and things like that. Now, and at that point, it was at Morovia. I was like, okay, from 6 guys to 60. So I said, you got to give me a minute. So I was like, let me try to figure it out. I have some connections. Let me make some calls. Let me think about it. So I had a few connections. I had some Ohio State connections, Nebraska connections. So I started hitting up people. Back then you had the VHS tapes. So I had them sending me VHS tapes in the mail. I'm watching Nebraska's black shirt defense and the way they trained and everything like that. And so like I said, I did the same thing I did from the beginning when I just dove into dissecting everything and trying to get everything, right, and not wanting to hurt anybody and make sure all these guys were, the best athletes they could be. So I started doing that, and I took over an entire team, and then I took over a Duarte High School basketball team where they went to the quarterfinals and they played the Collins twins that played at Stanford. They ended up going to the NBA. They played them and they played them well. I trained that whole basketball team to get ready for them. So that's kind of how once I got training the whole like 60 people and designed the entire workout and the trainings according to that. I knew that this was something that I loved and I wanted to continue on doing. So then I started like, hey, I got to start getting certified. I got to start getting, and finish the schooling and do all this and that. So I just started diving in. And then for me, all my people who I trained was always word of mouth. All my athletes who I trained, every school that I've ever trained at is because I trained individuals there and they end up being the best ones there. They turn out to be the best athletes at the school. So then I get phone calls from the coach and asking me, can I come? Like every school that I've ever trained for, that's how it happened.
Started out as a hobby. You just wanted to kind of do it, didn't mind doing it for free. And then it's funny how life can be sometimes where you find your passion and you're just like, yep, this is what I was put on this earth to do.
Exactly.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Man, that's really, it sounds rewarding too, to push kids. Cause there's everyone who coaches a little league team or a high school football team, but you specifically get to work with guys individually, guys and girls, and make them personally better. I mean, from start to finish, that's got to be so rewarding at the end of the day.
Yes, it is. It is. It's the one of the best things in the world is hearing what has happened. Like, a kid coming to me and or parents saying, hey man, my kid had a game the other day and he was running the bases. I've never seen him run bases that fast ever in my life. Or my kid just I had this one kid who got 20 rebounds in a basketball game. And he's like, he's never done it. He's out jumping everybody. Like he's never done it. So it's rewarding when I hear a lot. Almost everybody who I train, that's the story. This is something they've never done before. They've gotten to a level they never thought possible, things like that. So for me, that's pretty much all I want to do. And I just tell them, look, one of my sayings is, you train to be the best you can and you never let anyone outwork you. And I always tell them, look, there's 24 hours in a day. So it being 24 hours in a day, you can't come, you're coming to me, you're coming to the wrong person to come up with excuses not to train because you have a trainer that trains 24 hours a day. I train 24 hours a day. I've trained people at 2:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And one of the reasons why I decided to do that, when I was competing in bodybuilding, my trainer used to open up the gym at 2:30 in the morning for me. And I was the only one in the gym and he did it just for me. So I do, oh my God, sorry.
Oh, it's all good. No worries.
So
he fell down back there.
Yeah, he, that stuck with me, and that's one thing I've always done with my athletes and tell them, look, there's no excuse. If I'm willing to come to you, I'm willing to train you anytime, and then you do it. And I think one of the things with Ryan, that's what he's always done. When he was training with me, he never had excuses. If he was going to miss, he always made it up. And I told him consistency is everything. So, if you miss a day, you know what your schedule is. So if you want to miss a day, make it up. Keep it consistent, the amount of days, and things like that. And again, like I was saying, you have a trainer that literally will train you anytime. So I've actually convinced several of the Rio Hondo kids to train early in the morning. Come to me at 5:45, 5:36 in the morning before school. And I always tell them, look, I know I'm offering this to you, but I'm going to let you know there's very, 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 very few high school athletes that will do that will come that early in the morning and train. So I think all of these type of things are separating a lot of these Rio Hondo kids that's doing that because they're listening to what I'm telling them. They're coming early in the morning before school. If they miss, they make it up. They're keeping consistent with it.
Man, it's nice to hear that our kids stand out above the rest because, for so many, you hear all the time, all these years about real kids, they're, they can compete with such and such or whatever, but the fighting spirit of Rio Hondo is do things right, do things better than other people and do things different, which it sounds like our guys are really putting in effort here. I want to ask you about this year's team. You've trained with so many of them this year, Coach Gholar. And, once again, we're up against against the Santa Monica Vikings. Yeah. We're playing another school bigger than us, physically on the field as well. Maybe some of their guys faster than us. What's your belief in this team and the guys you train going in to take down possibly another Goliath, hopefully?
Right. Well, one of the things I told them is this. One thing that I also do and they all know this. I send them a message before every single game. They know they're going to get a text message from Coach Gholar. To stay focused, play hard, play fast, play smart, and always have fun. I always leave it with have fun. You got to have fun playing the game. You know what I mean? You got to enjoy it. So one of the things all this week I've been, they've all trained with me this week. And I just told them, you guys don't try to do anything that you haven't done, because what you've done has gotten you here. Everything you've done has gotten you here. Believe in the process, understand you deserve this, and you earned it. You earned it no matter what anybody says. And you guys are ahead of schedule, because see, I already told them, in my mind, my goal, you could ask any of them, I told them my goal was to win them a CIF championship. I told them that in the summer. The goal is to win a CIF championship. That's my personal goal to you guys. That's my goal. That's what I'm going to try to get you guys that come to me to win a CIF championship. And I asked them, is that what you guys want? And they was like, yes. I said, okay, we're going to get to work and we're going to make it happen. So, and I also told them, I said, you guys realize you're sending a message to everybody right now. You guys are sending a message. Good coaches from other teams understand what they're playing and what they're playing against, and you guys age. So trust me, you guys are sending a message out to everybody that you are in a CIF championship and how young you guys are. So you guys are showing them we are here. We're here, and you're going to have to deal with us. Not just this year. You're going to have to get several years. You're going to have to keep dealing with us, because we're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I think they believe it. I told them the one thing that's not on paper, that no matter, I don't care what Santa Monica is saying, I don't care what writers are saying, any of that. I said, the one thing that's not on paper is what's in your heart and how bad you want to win, how bad you want something. So I said, and you guys know what's is unacceptable to me is taking a playoff. There's no plays off. You know what's going to happen. You know, when you come to me, I saw you get run down, or I see you take a play off, that you're going to have to deal with me. You're going to have to face Coach Gholar and with an explanation on why that happened. And we're going to work hard and we're going to fix that. So I have one thing that I do is I have notepads for everyone that I train, and I take notes. So I go to the games and I take notes on everything that I see.
Ooh.
And then we work on it. So we work on it, and I have the good things too. It's not just the bad. So I show them, hey, this and this and this. This was great. Keep doing this. These things we're gonna have to work on. But the only way you fix those, I always tell people, and it's not just the real kids. Everybody I train, I go see play, because no matter what training you do, it's training. It's not playing the game. So if I see someone that I'm training and they're not tackling properly, they're tackling too high, for instance, I'm not going to know that unless I see them play. So if I go and see them play, then I'm like, okay, we got to work on this, or we got to have to work on your change of direction. It was funny that Cologio, I was working with him several weeks ago before he messed his hand up. I was working with him on closing, backpedaling and closing to get a pick. So I worked with him on a Thursday, me and my son, and he ended up getting 2 picks that game, doing the exact same thing we worked on the Thursday, the day before. So so it was just things that, and I have them make goals, set goals, and when I hit it, I told them, everything that's in the air is yours. You defensive guys, anything that hits the air, that's your ball.
Wow.
You go out and get it. Josh, I'm very excited and proud of him going up and getting last 2 games, getting 3 picks. So I said, man, this is what you can do. You got to believe you're long and lanky. Go up and get the ball, man. Go up and get it. So, and again, they're young, man. And, it's exciting to see kids that young doing what they're doing.
I agree.
With no fear, not backing down to any of these teams.
We asked a lot of these guys, mostly talking about the freshman class last year, playing varsity football, and then coming back this year as sophomores. And it's not to take anything away from our current juniors or seniors, but that class has a lot of guys on this team. And You know, most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, most of us, we may have played a little bit of varsity football as sophomores, but we weren't ready. You know, we weren't ready physically or mentally. And what these guys are doing is phenomenal. And, you know, the athleticism of Nathan Curtis is unbelievable. He is so fast. Joshua making plays. I can't remember if you mentioned Noah, if you've worked with Noah yet,
No,
or not yet with Noah. Not yet. I'm sure it's coming.
Not
And
yet.
he's unbelievable. He does a lot of martial arts training and stuff.
Yes. He wanted me to actually work with him with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I've talked to him. Yeah, I've talked to him.
So you are at all the games, Coach. You come out to most of our games?
I come to a lot of games, yes. Yeah.
Okay. I just haven't we haven't had the privilege of meeting each other yet, which I'm sure we'll get to. But you know, I'm a really big combat guy, fighting, MMA, boxing. And I know you've worked with a lot of guys like that. So when you were talking about training at like 4 or 2:30 in the morning, that's what came to mind. So many of these fighters who it's just them against the world kind of a thing.
Right.
They spend months of training for one like 30-minute, you know, session or something.
Yeah.
And it's the early rising. Have you worked with maybe some fighters we know, or maybe not just fighters, but other athletes that maybe we've heard of at the professional or college level?
Well, there's a boxer, Scooby, Kurt Scooby. He's gone pro. He was a Division I. Well, he was a Division II football player. He played at APU.
The running back, right, from Monroe.
Yeah, running back. Yeah.
I heard he's boxing now.
Yeah, he's a pro fighter now. So
wow.
Like even if you saw my Instagram, you'll see me training him on the Vertimax, and it was before he went pro. And but it was people holding him back. He was ready, man, and he was just with a wrong group of trainers that just was holding him back. And then out of nowhere, he rode his bike from Azusa to Morovia to tell me he was moving to New York. And I was like, what? He was like, man, I have everything set up. And for me, I was just like, I'm gonna pray for this guy and hope it's not another person that sets him up for, you know, just things to not go right, because that's what was happening to him. And but it couldn't have worked out any better. He's I think 13 or 14-0 as a pro. None of his fight is gone, I think, past 3 rounds. Most of his fights are 1 round. And the funny thing is, most of them are body blows. Like he ends the fight with a body shot, not even a headshot, man. So he's and then I trained Rhonda Luna. She was the first female, actually the only female at that time to fight for Golden Boy. So I tried to get her right for a rematch for a championship years ago, and so I got her on there, but she kind of, sometimes you get other, and you're not the only trainer. And I don't claim, like, what I tell people is, listen, when you bring me into something like that, I'm just going to make the person better. Like, if I'm not your main trainer and you're just adding me to somebody that you've already been with, I'm just going to make you better than you were. But that's your main person. You know what I mean? So when I was training her, I was talking to her other trainers, and I was just trying to tell them, listen, you need to get her to me more. I understand what you guys are doing. It's fine. You guys have been with her, but this is a rematch of a championship fight. The person normally who loses does more homework and works a little bit harder. That's why it's hard to beat someone twice, no matter if it's a football game, a basketball game, or whatever. So, but I'm not a believer in that. I want to, she should add more things. And she was taking a fight lightly. She was like, well, I won easy and I wasn't even 100%. I wasn't feeling good. I said, it doesn't matter. Who cares? I'm new to you. I'm telling you, I can guarantee you that this fight doesn't go past 3 rounds. I'm guaranteeing that. Before it went the distance, right? I said, I guarantee you'll knock this girl out. If you stay with me and stick with me, it won't go past 3. So she didn't come to me enough. It was bothering me a little bit. And they were like, oh, we need to work on this. I said, okay. And I was kind of done with it. And then she went in there and she lost. The girl knocked her out. Yeah, she knocked her out. It ended her career.
Oh, man. Got to listen to Coach. Listen to Coach Gholar. He's got a proven track record here.
Even through there, that boxing camp where I was at, I actually was supposed to train Pacquiao before the Mayweather fight.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually met with him. To try to get it going. He does Like he does this. He runs around the city, like all everywhere. And so, so he set it up to where I meet him after his run. Well, unaware to me, I didn't know at this park where I was supposed to meet him at, that was hundreds of people waiting for him because he does everything publicly. So I'm there and I'm like, what is going on here? See, all these hundreds of people here. And then, so I'm texting and they're like, oh, yeah, this is how it is. I'm talking to one of his trainers. They're like, yeah, don't go anywhere. He's going to meet with you after or whatever. I'm like, okay, So I'm there. He gets there. He runs in, all these cameras, people there. And then this little ring there. He starts shadow boxing. He's doing that. I'm waiting. And I look at him. I'm like trying to get his attention. He's like, oh, yeah, okay. So he acknowledges me like, hey, we'll talk. I'm like, okay. So then after all that, he spars and shadow boxing and all that stuff. Then he loves basketball. So then he plays the basketball game. So sitting there while he's playing a pickup game. So I'm like, okay. And I was thinking about leaving. I was like, well, it is Pacquiao. And it is for the Mayweather fight. So I said, I'd be crazy to leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. This opportunity. So I'm like, I don't care how long it takes. I'm not going to walk away from this opportunity to train Pacquiao to fight Mayweather, right? So I'm sitting there waiting, and eventually it just ran out of time. And he was like, oh, we're going to have to set this up. I was there like hours. And he's like, we're going to have to set this up some other time. And then that never came to fruition.
So it sounds like maybe it's better off working with high school kids, specifically Rio Hondo guys. Hey, I got some Instagram right here. We could look at your Instagram and just get an idea of kind of what's going on here. This is, did I click the right button? Let me see. Oh, sound. We don't want that. We want the actual footage here. This way we can talk through it. This Nate Curtis looking like he's doing some lifting there on the balance ball.
Yeah, that's a Bosa ball. So that machine right there is the Vertimax. So we're on that one. We're just working on a little bit of balance. And the reason why that Bosa ball, what it does, you see how his feet are moving around when he's doing it. So what that actually does is it strengthens all the ligaments in your ankle. So one of the things that I do is I train from the feet up. So I get their feet stronger from their ankles to the knees, to hamstrings and hips. So I want these guys more mobile, and it cuts out injuries. So the one thing is what I try to do is I don't want these guys getting hurt and having like non-contact injuries. Non-contact injuries can be prevented. And when those happen, most of the time when non-contact injuries happen, is because people's feet aren't properly set, right, in the right place. They're pushing off the wrong part of the foot and things like that. So all my guys know exactly where their feet are supposed to be, how to explode, how to land when they jump. So to cut out those type of injuries from happening.
And this is this makes so much sense because Nate Curtis all year has not gone down on the first contact. He's had incredible balance and strength from the ground up. It sounds like, Coach. Yeah. So here's the Instagram to follow Coach Gholar. Gholar _performance _training, and Gholar is spelled Gholar. Looks like we'll look at some other videos here. Coach, you can direct me. I was just trying to look specifically for some Rio Hondo guys. Looks like this
Rocco and Benny. That's Calogero. Yeah.
Calogero working some high knees there.
Yeah. So that's just creating a little bit of resistance when he's going out. The thing about the Vertimax, what it does is, so when he's going out like that, it's pulling him the other way. When he's coming towards him, it's pulling him to it. So he has to fight it both ways. So so in other words, what I try to tell people, like when you have a bungee cord, when you train on a bungee, you pull the bungee, right? And it's giving you resistance. Once you come back, the resistance is no longer there. It gets to a certain point to where all the slack is there and everything. Well, on the Vertimax, the resistance never stops. So it's resisting every single way. So like if he's coming back, if he doesn't control coming back, it'll pull him where he'll fall.
Wow.
So coming back, if he doesn't control that with his strength, he'll fall to the side. So it's working in both ways.
You got a lot of Rio Hondo guys on here, Coach. I'm just saying. Let me see. What was that's look, I remember seeing Josh and Nate Curtis doing some like a tennis ball drill. Let's see if I can find that one. If you see anyone you recognize Rio Hondo wise, go ahead and you can tell me, hey, there's a Rio guy or something, whatever you want to do. Let me see. You recognize those Rio Hondo t-shirts. I was scrolling through your Instagram last night, I think, looking at here's looks like Josh Curtis doing some work. And Nate Curtis.
That's Josh and Nate. Yeah, that was the facility I was at before. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you. And still in the home session, maybe not as big, but same principle kind of room to work like this.
You know, but all my neighbors know what I do. So I'll have
No big deal.
there's times where I've had 15 guys out on the street doing with medicine balls and doing all kinds of stuff. My neighbors actually love it. They love
That's
it.
cool.
Like,
Yeah.
man, this is like inspiring. I've literally had neighbors stop by and said, man, we look out the window and watch you train these guys. It's nice. And the crazy thing is, and it kind of goes again to Rio Hondo kids, they literally say it's nice to see kids that young with that type of dedication and not out in the street doing stuff. And I said, yeah, you know, so they really like seeing these guys out there doing what they're doing. And it makes them think
really neat.
There's some hope for young kids.
Well, hey, absolutely. And that's what a Rio Hondo is really all about, you know, training kids for the future. And this is really neat to see, in my opinion, because you get to see the young man working behind the scenes. We see how great they are on the field, but man, it starts here. Here's more Calogero.
Yeah.
High knees.
So that's high knees. That's driving, getting him strength to his upper body, so it's attached to his arms and his ankles and his hip. So it's just good stuff, man. I've talked to the parents and told them that I think it was Shine's dad. I had a conversation with him and I said, you know, one of the things about the Rio Hondo kids, I truly believe this in all my heart. I said, these guys, one thing is they're going to be friends for life. You know, these guys are going to know each other forever. Their kids are going to know each other. You know, this is going to be a connection forever. I said, and the beauty of it, I truly believe that these guys they're going to be the leaders of the world. And I said, it makes me feel good because I truly believe they're such good people and that they're going to go and do great things no matter what field they go under, that I feel, because I see another side. I see another side of kids who I work with. I'm trying to stay on track and they're doing this and doing that, and I have to talk to the parents, like, he's doing this, can you talk to my kids? Because I do have actually a lot of other kids who have their single parents and there's no dad around. So I've always looked at my training as me being a mentor and like a second father. And so I always have kids, I'm always checking on them. Ryan, for instance, I text him almost every week just to ask him how he's doing. Not even about football, like mentally, how are you doing? Like, it's how's school, how's everything going? You know, letting them know I'm praying for them and things like that, because it's not just, you know, they're more than just an athlete. And that's what these kids have to know. They're more than that.
You know? I know you deal with a lot of kids from different schools. You've already kind of made mention of it though, that, you know, Rio Hondo kids as a whole, as a group, I would say, maybe show up a little more consistently. And I don't know, you can tell a difference overall in the attitude and approach of the Rio Hondo guys.
Yeah. Well, one thing is Rio Hondo is that they're probably the biggest group I've ever trained that I wasn't actually training at the school. You know what I mean? So normally when I have that many kids, I'm actually training them at the school. I'm a part of the coaching staff, or they're bringing me in to say, hey, can you come here for 8 weeks? You know, and the parents pay, and we're going to bring you in for 8 weeks. So they're the largest group that I haven't been a part of the coaching staff that I train. And I definitely, the one thing is, if you don't get results, and that's one thing is I always guarantee, and my results are instant. I tell them, you train me consistently, you're going to see a difference in a week. You're going to literally feel faster and more explosive in 1 week training with me. And I guarantee that with all my athletes. So, and they know that, and they've seen it. They've seen it immediately. So, and it's kind of, you know, that's what kind of hooks you in. And then I always like Ryan and everyone else, I talk to them about commitment. I talk to them about dedication and things like that, to where I know, because I know they're more than just an athlete. I tell them these are things that's going to make you a better person, a better husband, a better son, better whatever it is. You know what I mean? You're going to be a better person because of it, because you're going to learn discipline. You're going to learn how to work with people. You're going to know how it is to win, how to fail, how to dig deep and push through things. These are things that you're going to need in life. And I truly believe that these guys doing that and them trusting me. And I always tell people I'm blessed to have people like that because they're trusting me on what I'm telling them. The parents are trusting what I'm saying to them. Like, this is what we need to do. Focus on this, and the results will come, and it will become a better person because of it. Ryan, actually, his mom, I saw her at a grocery store, and she told me, and it was like the greatest compliment ever. She said, my son became a different human being when he started training with you. And it had nothing to do with physically, like an athlete. She said he was a different person. Like, he became a different person. Like, they say, she told me, like, he was like in a shell, kind of, and just wasn't that talkative or things like that. And she's like, you brought him completely out of his shell because the way you talk to him, the way, and I'm also a jokester, so I always mess around with the guys. I mess around with them, push them around and mess around, but they also know when it's time to get serious, they know I don't play either with that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of both ways. They know, so it's not, they know it's business and the serious business, but we also have fun. I want them to have fun. I want them to enjoy coming. I want them to enjoy training too at the same time.
Well, it gives me some chills here watching the Ryan McCulloch training with some guys. This says July 31st. This may have been last summer, or maybe it is. Who knows when it is? The boys had that summer trip.
This past summer, I think this was he was going back and forth with Cal at that time.
Yeah,
he was there, and then he had to come home, like little breaks again. Because what I do with my guys who go off to college, they stay with me. So what they do, any breaks, if it's spring break, Christmas break, whatever it is, when they come back, they train with me. So that's another thing that I kind of take a lot of pride in. So it's not just the high school level that I have my guys become better than anybody else. My college guys do the same thing. So when my college guys come home, they become better and they come back. And I've gotten phone calls from colleges thanking me because of what I've done with them. And so when they came back, they were better than they ever thought.
I just love the brotherhood aspects here of Rio guys. Ryan McCulloch, he goes to college, he comes back, and he's working out here with his former teammates. And a lot of these guys, you can tell from the appearance here on the video to where they're at now. Their training definitely has you've had something to do big time with their appearance and the mobility and all those things. So, Coach Gholar, this is great stuff. Is there anywhere else we can follow you? Do you have a website or anything where people can sign up or get information from you?
No, it's just no. I mean, I have a Facebook, but it's normally I do everything through my Instagram and everything like that. Also, one thing I wanted to kind of point out too is that what I wanted to try to do, because the Rio Hondo guys have been wanting other guys to come train with me, and so I was trying to set up things. I talked to a couple of parents about it because I've gotten really attached to the Rio guys because I'm training so many of them too. And be honest with you, I want more of them. So, but I know everybody's in different spots as far as what they can do, so what I've offered to them is that, hey, maybe what I can do just for Rio Hondo kids is do a camp for them once a week at a park. I'll bring my equipment and just have like so it'll be a whole different price from personal training, and just have Rio Hondo kids, and then at least they'll be able to get that kind of work in.
I love that idea because number one, it's individual work, of course, but anytime you can implement together, doing things together. And it seems like you've fell in love with the Rio guys, and you have that connection, right? To the BCL back in the day.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Coach Gholar, I hope we've all learned something about not just your program, but the Rio Hondo program and the extra work these guys put in. I think it's a huge tribute to them as to how they're being successful this season, beating kids bigger than them, but not necessarily stronger. So final thoughts, Coach. I'll let you have the floor on just your program and also the big game Friday. Will we see you out there? Can our boys do it? I think they can.
I think they can. I definitely will be there. Again, the message what I've been given to them is, trust the process, believe in yourself, keep playing the way you're playing, don't take plays off, and they're already counting you guys out. So, let them believe that. I told them, I called it when they played Charter Oak. And I told everybody that Rio Hondo was going to beat Charter Oak. And they didn't believe me. I said, trust me, I trained the dudes. They're going to be. And they were like, oh, you're just saying that because you trained them. I said, exactly. That's exactly the reason why I'm telling you that. And Charter Oak is going to take them lightly and think that they already beat them. And so I've been telling guys, trust me, Santa Monica is doing the same thing. They're underestimating them, thinking we're bigger, we're this, we play bigger schools with this. They only have that. And like, again, going back to knowing the thing that's not on paper is how bad you play, how bad you want it and how hard you want to play in your heart. So that is what a lot of times in those close, tough games, that's what separates you, and I believe the conditioning because of what these guys, the work they put in. And I said, I always have my athletes play with a chip. I always tell them, like, how dare you think you can play with me when I put this kind of work in? I know you're not doing what I'm doing. So how dare you think that you can play with me? So I said, play with that attitude.
Let's go. Let's go, coach. Go. Oh, man. I'm ready. Let's do this.
I will be there.
I'll run through a wall for you. Hey, it'll be great to meet you in person, and we'll be cheering loudly for these guys. I believe in him. Our Rio community believes in him, and we love being the underdog, coach. I don't know what it is. We've shined. We shine bright with that. So
for sure.
I love it. I love the messages and the chip on the shoulder. And man, what a great message to send to our boys the week of the finals. And we're all going to overindulge a little tomorrow with the turkey and the potatoes, but after hearing all your training stuff, I might take it a little more easy, coach. We'll see what we got to
do. It's great.
What to follow? We'll follow you on Instagram. We'll promote it, and I'll post more of your sites and things, coach. Really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. I will see you Friday. Go Rio. Let's get it done.
Let's go.
Wow. Well, another fun episode on the Charge to Keep podcast. We got Coach Dowd yesterday talking about the 1970s, and we got Coach Gholar coming on here talking about our boys training in the off season and him pushing us to our limits. And I'm jacked up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go lift something heavy and run through a wall, whatever is okay. Maybe not too much exercise. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving after all, but wow. I'm confident now to say our boys are ready. And I will say our young men are ready after, hearing that and knowing that so many guys have trained with coach. And I think if we get the result we want on Friday night, that Coach Gholar might have a few more clients from Rio Hondo Prep in the very near future. So I will be sure to post his Instagram and Facebook account so everyone can kind of see what they're doing. But it's I want to get it right. Don't want to mess it up too much. It was Steven Gholar. Let's see. That was his active site. Don't want to mess this up. Hang on. Come on. Do things right, Matt. Anyway, wow. Inspiring stuff from Coach Gholar. Excited to check out the Gholar performance training. Gholar, GHOLAR _performance _training. That is the Instagram account, and I'll be sure to post the other stuff on his Facebook stuff also. And if you're not, if you're on the fence, I'd talk to some of the athletes you saw in the videos, or at the Rio games, and say, oh yeah, training with Coach Gholar is great. I believe Kalodro mentioned him, Nate Curtis mentioned him, and then last week Nathaniel Shine, mentioned him. So we see Ryan McCullough, the great things he's doing at the Division I level, and I think it's a great tribute to former Boys Christian League member Steven Gholar, who also had his kids in Kare Youth League. I love all those connections, man. I'm telling you. All right, tomorrow, special episode. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it'll be a nice little treat, something unique for Thanksgiving, we'll say, and the day before the big game on Friday night, as Rio Hondo Prep travels to Santa Monica to take on the host Vikings right there by the Pacific Oceans. Can't wait, man. Let's do this. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed these podcasts, and hopefully you guys are ready for the finish line, because it is here. The talk, the preparation, everything we've been doing for many, many months, especially our young men and coaches. The finish line's here. Just got to finish. Got to finish. No matter what happens on Friday, if we get down early, or if we hit some adversity, you got to stay positive. You got to keep working. And fans, bring all you got, because for certain that our young men are as well. Happy Thanksgiving once again. I have another show for you guys tomorrow, but enjoy the holiday, and we'll all be chomping at the bit to get out to watch our young men represent Rio Hondo Prep one more time in the CIF finals. The finish line is here. It's just time to finish. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Gotta finish line. Gonna make it to the finish line. Every day. Gonna make it to the finish line.